Hi everyone, my name's Tim Sumner. I'm a solutions engineer with Shopify Plus, which means I do a lot of techie things. I help scope out the partnership and integrations with Plus and partners like Emarsys. This is Anna, our UK marketing lead. And hopefully today we're going to show you a few ideas around automation, what you can do with Plus and maybe other tools that you already have. First, before we get started, what is Shopify Plus? So Shopify itself was born to make commerce easier for any entrepreneur to start a business out of nothing and just grow and create a business. Plus itself is catering for a different audience. So it's for companies that want exponential growth, that want a little bit more strategic help, and we've developed a lot of functionality to help that. Plus was started around 2014 out of necessity from a lot of core merchants that were growing and wanted something a little bit extra, and that's why we started Plus. And it's been amazing. We've got over 600,000 merchants on Shopify at large, but we have about 4,000 customers on Plus already. The average year-on-year growth for a Plus merchant is 126%, and average growth for the top 20 merchants is 274%. And we've had 40 billion in total platform sales so far. We work with amazing brands. So we've got the likes of Ford, Kylie Jenner, Simba Sleep, Gymshark. We'll get into Gymshark a little bit later. But the likes of Kylie Jenner, she kind of peaks the platform out at 10,149 orders per minute, and that's always quite interesting. So Shopify Plus has amazing scalability. We're looking at going even higher than that now with some other brands that do amazing drops, so that'll be quite interesting. Dover Street Market is another one, over 10,000 orders per minute, but amazing scalability and reliability in the Shopify Plus platform. Here's a little taste of what we do.
All right, e-commerce automation. So look, I think, we're all marketers, or a lot of us here are. We're at Emarsys Revolution. We get automation and its importance. We're talking about using a combination of software, processes, and mindsets to automate previously manual tasks in your business. So anything that's inhibiting your scalability. And we've probably all been there. I know I certainly have, staying up at ungodly hours to push that product live or to launch a campaign with its various elements on time. Maybe it's pulling together a report manually from disparate data sources. But I think at the end of the day, there's loads of aspects of our business that we should be able to put on autopilot. Because at the end of the day, there's three keys to growth: save time, save money, and sell more. And I think businesses focus on this last one a lot. Obviously, it makes sense. You want to grow, you want to sell more. But the irony of high volume, high growth e-commerce is that sometimes the more you sell, it can end up being your own worst enemy. So every day you're faced with a flood of tasks and processes. At first, the way you deal with those, it can be efficient, but as your business scales, things start to break down. And then to compensate for those breakdowns, we either hire more people to plug the gaps, or we figure out some slightly crappy workarounds. And then in the absence of both of those things, we end up sacrificing what's important and instead focusing on what's urgent, even if that's literally just pushing buttons. And it's why we're so obsessed with e-commerce automation, because time is your most precious commodity, and we get it. It's the one thing our merchants are constantly telling us is their biggest hindrance to growth. So it's what we wanted to focus on today. Ways to reclaim your time so you can focus on what's really important, things that are going to grow and scale your business. So look, some of the stuff we're talking about, it is linked to Shopify Plus features, but obviously like the thought processes and the way you think about and approach it, it's applicable to automation as a whole. So hopefully you get a few good tips out of it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was Flow. So Flow is a first of its kind e-commerce automation platform tool. So it's commerce without all the clicks. It's a 3-step visual workflow builder. So think of it in terms of a trigger, condition, action. So this is one example of what it could do for you. So say a customer creates an order, that's your trigger. You can apply a condition to that, so they've spent over a certain threshold, and then there's an action. So in this case, you're tagging a customer as a VIP. And this is what it looks like in action. So I think what's really exciting here is it's super easy and simple to use, where you previously might have relied on like your dev support, dev teams. Someone can just go in this backend, set up an experiment quickly and automate some of those processes. So the barriers to entry are really low, which is great. And it's not just about marketing either. So e-commerce automation is affecting every aspect of your business, whether that's around fraudulent payments or managing inventory levels, or obviously tagging customers for a host of reasons. So everyone benefits from e-commerce automation. So let's just have a look at some of those different roles within your organization and what it can do for them. So we've got ops managers first. I think discoverability is a really big one for them. So products can be automatically tagged and added to collections based on type or title or SKU. So taking out some of the manual work there. And also on the inventory management front. So say you're running low on a certain item, you may want to use automation to automatically either ping yourself on email, Slack, whatever it is, or to automatically reorder through your supplier so you don't have to worry about that. And in the same vein, say you have products approaching 0, you may want to automatically unpublish those. And again, once the inventory arrives, automatically republish them. So just taking out some of the manual work in the back-end inventory management. On the customer service side, so you could set it up. So for example, a customer completes a certain set of actions. Maybe they've spent over a certain amount, or they may have just completed their 10th repeat purchase, something like that. So you could have an automation set up so that it automatically pings the customer service team in their Slack channel or an email to outreach to that customer, either invite them to a loyalty program, maybe it's just a personal note or even a voucher of some sort. And then on the flip side, if you have a negative customer experience, so say there's a refund or a cancellation, you could also ping that directly to the customer service Slack channel if that's what your team's using, with the details of it and even the last channel that customer outreached to you on, so that your team can get in touch with them in the channel they prefer and hopefully nurture and rebuild that relationship. And then we have fraud prevention. So this is a really interesting one. We do automatically flag fraudulent orders. So we have a built-in AI tool that sort of leverages the data across our 600,000 plus merchants to flag those risky orders on a whole host of factors. But you can use automation to take that a step further. So say, for example, you're a luxury jewelry seller and you have 400-pound necklaces. You might want to set up a rule that says anytime someone goes to buy 5 of these, I want that flagged to me first, because why is someone buying 5 of a high value item like that? It's not the typical behavior we see. So it's really good in terms of luxury items, big ticket items. It's also really good for personalization as well. So Shelfie is one of our merchants. They do print on demand, all over print on demand pieces. So they're very customized. And if someone orders 100 of those, that goes through, ends up being fraudulent, and you've already put that into production, you can't just add that back to the inventory, obviously, because it's so personalized. So that's a total loss in money. And marketing and advertising. So obviously, on the automation front, you can use it to tag customers at checkout on a whole host of features. But there's other really interesting things you could do too. So from the marketing side, you might want to notify your team every time a new product is published on the site so that they're across everything as it's going live. On the advertising side, say you've got a certain amount of spend on Google or Facebook ads, for example, and inventory is running really low on a product, you want to optimize that. So automatically let the team know, take the spend off that product and put it to something else where we've got more stock. On the design side, I think like the customized pieces, personalization is important. So usually, if you offer some level, whether it's monogramming or whatever it is, that involves kind of going through those orders at the end of the day, picking out the ones that need customization, sending them to your design team. So with this, you could automatically flag those orders, pull them out, ping them into a Slack channel, or send them directly to that design workflow, so it's actioned in real time rather than 24 hours later. And then we have dev teams. I think they benefit the most from this because it's a lot of the tasks that they were doing, whether it's theme changes or product updates, any kind of, say you run out of inventory and you want to have an email capture for a product, all that stuff can now be done by your team, and they can spend their time focusing on higher impact activities. So it works. To date, we've seen 2,500 businesses automate over 400 million tasks and ideas, reclaiming over 3.2 million hours of time, which in turn saves millions of pounds. So I just wanted to run through quickly a couple of customer examples and how they're using this. So this is Sasky Collection. They're a luxury athleisure brand, so they make beautiful, activewear pieces. And they kind of experimented with different ways to use automation. They were using it really successfully to flag fraudulent orders. They were using it to automatically unpublish products as inventory ran out. And then they started to think, what can we do to really build our customer loyalty and lifetime value? So they came up with this loyalty tracking workflow. And what it did was, every time a customer, no matter over how many orders, they reach a certain spend threshold, that pinged the customer service team, and they reached out with a personal note and a $100 gift voucher for them. So within a couple of days of setting this up, which was super easy, took someone 5 minutes, they were inundated with positive emails from customers that were saying they'd either already told their friends about Sasky or they were going to tell them. And they had a 40,000 lift in traffic over those few days, higher than normal. So it kind of shows that yes, it's great. E-commerce automation is awesome for just reducing some of that time on those manual back-end workflows, but it's also great for improving awareness and customer acquisition. So next up, I have Interlined. So they are the parent company of a couple big Scandinavian furniture brands. They're a 50-year-old family business. They built their success on bricks and mortar, on physical retail locations. I think the furthest they'd ventured into e-commerce was an online catalog style site that's sole purpose was direct people in store to get them to buy in person. So they started to obviously they needed to go online, they started to transition and think about this, and it became apparent pretty quickly that it was far too much work across these sites for a small e-commerce team of 3. So they turned to automation to save themselves some time so they could focus on what was important. So there was two key business cases for them. The first was refund automation. So at the end of a day, the way they were dealing with this was someone would manually go through every single order, pull out the relevant ones, refunds or cancellations, pop them in a spreadsheet, then that would be reviewed by the team and they'd really dig into the reasons of why this happened and initiate the refund process. So now instead, they use automation. Whenever something matches that criteria, a refund or a cancellation, it pings the dedicated Slack channel, which is just about that. It's dealt with in real time and the refund process is initiated straight away rather than 24 hours later. And then the other way they're using it is for sales commission tracking, which is really interesting. So obviously, they were built on physical locations. Their sales associates, their lifeblood was commission. And they're thinking, okay, we're going online. That's those digital efforts are really going to hinder what I'm doing in store. So they used automation to kind of get the team on board with this new digital offering. And one of the big problems for the sales associates was, say, for example, someone goes into a store in New York and they want to buy something for a friend in LA. That was a lost sale. It couldn't be fulfilled. You had to buy in the store, in the location where you were. So obviously when they went online, you could now place orders in other locations. So what they did was they used Flow, they used automation to automatically see, okay, a rep in that store using the email address, they've placed an order in another store, so it pings a dedicated sales commission tracking for tracking it in real time. So then suddenly they realized that 25% of all of their orders are now placed in store online by sales associates. So it really helped to get everyone on board with that process. So since launching their first 2 e-commerce stores and automating half a dozen back-end workflows, they've been experiencing month-over-month sales increases of 30%, which is awesome. And I think this is one of the really exciting things about Flow is we've opened it up because we know we want to push automation into other areas of a merchant's tech stack. We know we're just one piece of the e-commerce puzzle. And so what we've done is we've opened this up. So our partners and Emarsys are looking at how they can do this now. They're building on top of this. They're building connectors for Flow to take that automation one step further. So one example that I like is Bond, who they do handwritten notes. So you can imagine like a calligraphy pen with a mechanical arm. So it's all automated. But you might sell luxury products and someone spends, over $1,000 on your site and you want to send them a personalized note from the founder. So that order triggers it sends it through the connector to Bond, who create this beautiful handwritten note, and now your customer gets a lovely note from the founder as well, along with their order. So you can do all sorts of things like that. I think the opportunities are endless.
Great. So we've had a look at Flow. Let's have a look. Well, Flow automating a lot of back-end and even front-end tasks. Let's look a little bit at Launchpad, which is the ability to automate your flash sales, your product launches, your Black Friday, Cyber Monday periods. So, planning and executing major events involves a host of manual, repetitive, and disjointed tasks. All-nighters don't scale, and optimizing performance in real time is nearly impossible. This is where Launchpad comes in. It's great for scheduling those big sales periods. You don't have to have 20 people sitting up all night, marking a bunch of discounted items down, et cetera, et cetera. You can plan out your entire sales periods at the beginning of the year, then forget about it. Concentrate on other marketing activities whilst Launchpad launches and does all of that automation for you in real time. Everything is tracked, so you can do reporting on that and see how it's doing. So in essence, this simplifies the execution for you. Planning everything throughout the year, driving higher conversion rates, and then obviously monitoring that in real time so you know exactly what was happening during those sales periods. One example here is Frankie's Bikinis, who were struggling a lot with their product launches. They were only doing one or two a year. I can't remember what platform that was on, but it was clearly very difficult. And basically, they then started using Launchpad. And straight away, they noticed that they could do a launch and sell $190,000 worth of product in a couple of minutes, selling out everything on their site. Quickly fixed that. They put in a load of new stock and then sold that out in another 2 minutes. So it's an incredibly powerful tool. So since Launchpad's launch less than a year ago, businesses have collectively sold over $2 billion using the automation tool. Frankie's Bikinis has increased its new collection launches from twice a year to every other month, growing at 400% year on year. And they said, this is why Launchpad is our savior. We schedule everything during normal business hours, and then Launchpad does everything for us automatically. Another great story we want to tell you about is Gymshark. So I'm hoping everyone's heard about Gymshark. They were on the BBC site the other day. But Gymshark started by a guy called Ben Francis. He was 19. He started it in his mum's garage. He wanted to create great tight-fitting clothing for people going to the gym. And basically, started sewing it himself in his mum's garage. Born on Shopify, left Shopify for Magento, and then after a terrible Black Friday, hopped straight back on Shopify 2 weeks later. So a great story. He was doing about $400 a day, and then announced his brand at a trade show and immediately shot up to $42,000. But this is how he uses Launchpad, or they use Launchpad.
I've got massively into the gym when I was 16, 17 years old. So what I did is, because I didn't have any money at the time, I was a pizza delivery driver. I loaded up a load of supplements onto the website and drop shipped all those supplements just because I wanted to be involved in some way in the fitness community. Later on, I wanted to put clothes onto the website and no one made the clothes that we wanted to wear. So we brought a screen printer and a sewing machine and started to make them ourselves. So in terms of making this brand the biggest thing in the world, I quickly realised that I need people to do what they're really, really good at, and I need to focus on what I'm really, really good at.
Our department's job is to just bring the noise, get the humans to the website and make sure the traffic is crazy. We need to know when we do, the platform's going to hold up, because we had some bad experiences in the past where stuff went down and went wrong, whatever else. So like Black Friday, for example, we mapped everything out, so every single social media post was out on the table in front of us. We went through it with a fine-tooth comb. We can only do stuff like that if the platform's going to hold up, you know what I'm saying? Otherwise, all the stuff we do is probably going to be in vain.
So depending on what region in the world we're operating in for our pop-up stores, we set up a POS Shopify store, and with that we make sure that the currency is right. It's a bit of a game changer for us to be able to bring whatever payment method suits the customer best in whatever part of the world we're in.
So the POS system is really good because it's just really intuitive and user-friendly, so not much staff training needed, everyone just cracks on. And then all the inventory gets synced across, all the sales get synced across, all the iPads in real time. As you see, we set everything up in 5 minutes.
3, 2, 1, go! I think it's really important to do something like this when we're all together in person, because I don't think you can ever beat that. When you just see a lot of numbers on screen, it never really hits you, but when you see the people and you meet them, chat to them, find out what they like about Gymshark, what they don't like about Gymshark, probably more importantly, I learn a lot. And there's a huge amount of Gymshark fans in California as a whole. It's always nice just to meet the wider Gymshark family and spend time with everyone.
When he was like 2 feet away from me, my heart was pumping, I was like starting to shake.
The guy that did it all.
Yeah, I know. We wouldn't be here. He's such a nice guy too. He's a real person. It's awesome.
What we want to do is we obviously want to positively impact as many people as possible, but equally we want to be the biggest fitness wear brand in the world, and that's one thing that I'll say to everyone that joins the business is in 5 years we're as likely to be bankrupt as we are the biggest fitness wear brand in the world. We're sort of, we're going to go all in to try and achieve our goals. We want to build a legacy, we want to build something that's bigger than ourselves.
Awesome. So, what do they do with Launchpad? This is what their site looks like normally. So, day-to-day Instagram shopping on there, etc. as well. And incidentally, the video showed our point of sale system, so they use that for all their pop-ups, so they can just create a retail presence wherever they want. But this is what it looks like when Launchpad automatically schedules a Black Friday. Their whole site changes to a black theme, black merch and everything on the site. They even post black pictures on Instagram just to entice a little bit more, or completely black images on Instagram. And the results are amazing. So 9.3% ROI on Black Friday social media campaign, 197% overall increase in the holiday revenue, and 128 million in the financial year 2018. So these are just some of the things you can do with Launchpad, changing the site, listing new products, etc., etc. I think I've covered most of these. Another interesting one that Kylie Jenner does is she just tweets out a password. So it actually locks down the site, she tweets out a password, and it drives a lot of intrigue, and then she's obviously sold a few more $1 million worth of makeup in a few seconds. Okay, so that's really all about Launchpad. Let's have a look at how you can automate your discounts now. So scripts, Shopify Script Editor is another Plus exclusive app. This allows you to automate and optimize closest to the money. Basically, we can say in the cart, in real time, in the little red box there, hey, why don't you just add a second bag to this order and get 50% off? It's great for doing complex shipping scripts, so maybe you're selling very heavy things, you want to change the shipping rates or the shipping provider automatically. All of this can be done inside the script editor. It's really a wide open tool. You can write these scripts from scratch. We also have a load of examples on the site. Here are a couple other examples. So this first one here is a B2B wholesale merchant, and you can see straight away when they chuck in from 100 to 1,000 items in the cart, the price automatically changes. And on the left there, we've got Fashion Nova, who are using Script Editor to monitor the free shipping threshold. So when I've added 2 or 3 items and maybe a few more, it says, hey, why don't you add another item to cross over that free shipping threshold, $50 or whatever it is, and Script Editor automatically changes that pricing. Another example here, basically we can Rebecca Minkov, chucking in a free gift because I've ordered something, or buy X, get Y, just chucking in that free gift and delighting the customer there. So, 38 days to Black Friday. How can we help your automation?
The stress of Black Friday is literally the preparation.
Those peak seasons are all about you have to be anticipated.
It's always all hands on deck.
So we plan 6 months out because of how crucial it is to us getting to the next level.
You've got to scale up and build all the resources and get clear on the vision of what you want to achieve and how you're going to do it, and then just going all in on that.
When it comes to the website, the part that you think is going to be the most stressful, Shopify Plus really makes everything super, super easy and puts all the power in your hands.
The Shopify Flow automation piece has been amazing for our business. We're using Shopify Flow at the moment to notify our customer obsession team if there's any issues with orders, if it's a high-risk order or if it's a partial delivery order, we're just letting them know immediately so we can let the customer know.
We use things like Launchpad to enable us to make the changes that we wouldn't be able to make at the times that we wouldn't be able to be up for.
Shopify scripts have been great. They've allowed us to inject custom business logic into Shopify. When it comes to holiday, we've been leveraging that to offer some unique shipping rates to our customers, whether it be expedited rates for certain customers or limited rates for others. It's really helped us along the way.
It's what the customer's expecting. The customers expect a discount at Black Friday, on Cyber Monday. It's the periods around the world that every single brand is running a discount. And I think if we're a brand that misses that bandwagon, we're a brand that's irrelevant.
Every year, obviously, it goes crazy and goes to the next level, and it's always records on records.
It's fantastic being on Shopify Plus during the holiday seasons.
You have this confidence and peace of mind that the servers won't crash, that things will go the way they should go, and that's quite priceless, especially for an e-commerce like ourselves.
Nothing is better than to walk out of Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and to have your team tell you that it was the smoothest they've ever had. And that's what you should strive for every year, and that's what a platform like Shopify can help you succeed.
All right, so how can you start to think about e-commerce automation? So bearing in mind this 3-step logic as you're approaching this stuff, so trigger, condition, and action. So I think, we all want to grow our businesses, and the best way to do that is to remove yourself from some of those daily tasks that are a little bit of a time suck. And I think different businesses, e-commerce businesses and product-centric businesses, we have very, different ways of working, but there are some similarities. So we think this is kind of a good way to approach it. So conquer the repetitive tasks first. So specifically the things that require a great deal of time, but very little thought or value from having a person do them as opposed to something else. Number 2, list and prioritize your tasks. So identify the ones that will have the most impact and are easy to deploy. And prioritize the optimization of automation of daily tasks before tackling larger things that are less frequent. So figure out the ones that are going to have the biggest impact. And go after the tasks that aren't scalable. So things that you were doing initially that were working by a person, and then as you scaled, they've become a full-time job for someone manually. So that's kind of the way we'd suggest approaching this stuff and thinking through, how you can reclaim some of your time with automation. Thanks.
Thanks. Any questions?